Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today we're going to create a pattern of these sort of abstract lines in Illustrator. I'm going to start with a brand new document. It doesn't matter too much how big your document is. I'll just start with something that is the size of my screen. Now for the design we're going to create some rectangles, so I'm going to start with a black fill and I'm going to make sure I have no stroke at all. That's just going to set me up for success. I'll go to the rectangle tool. I'm going to click once in the document. Now the height of every single one of my lines is going to be 50 pixels, so I'm going to make a range of lines. So I'm going to set the height to 50 pixels and I'll start with one that is 100 pixels by 50. So there's one of my rectangles or the lines that are going to be used here. I'll add another one that's 150. I'm just going to make a few here, just changing the width each time. So I just want a range of shapes to use, and then I'm going to start sort of lining them up. I can make a duplicate of any of these by just Alt or Option dragging it away. I'm going to add a couple of smaller ones as well that are just 50 by 50, so they are going to be obviously squares. And I'm going to make sure that they're lined up with the existing shape so that they're just going to run in the correct line here. Now I want to take a copy of this because I want to show you something. So let's just take a duplicate of this set of lines. And we're going to make a comparison of using the current settings that are available in Illustrator and the new in Illustrator for rounding corners, and also using the old setting, because I think you might be surprised at the result. So what we're going to do with these shapes is I'm going to select this and I'm going to join it all together. So I'll click here on Unite so it becomes one shape, and I'm going to do the same over here. Now the issue with this is this area here. This area is so small that it's not going to allow us to make a nice rounded edge. So when I go to the direct selection tool, select on this shape and just pull in one of these corners, this is as rounded as that shape is going to get. So you can see that the ends are more like a rounded rectangle, less sort of circular. Let's go to this shape here. And for this, I'm going to use the old systems. So that's Effect and then Stylize and Round Corners. Now the height of these rectangles was 50 pixels. So if I do a 25 pixel rounded corner, then that's going to be sort of half of the shape. And you can see already that the rounded corners on this are way more rounded than they were over here. So this is the point at which you make your choice. You may prefer this look, and that's fine, use those shapes. If you prefer this look, then use the old-fashioned feature for rounding corners. Now, before we go any further, we're going to need to do that on the squares, and I'm going to need another set of shapes because I want at least two to go into this pattern design with. I'm going to use Effect, Stylize and Rounded Corners and just round them off to half of the height of the original rectangle. Now, a slight word of warning here. If we select this shape and go to the Appearance panel, you'll see that Round Corners is an applied effect. It's not actually baked into the shape. It's baked into this shape. So if we click on this shape, you'll see that every one of these curves is supported by these nodes that will have handles on them and everything that will allow you to potentially adjust these corners. That's not the case here. This is still a set of rectangles that have been piled on top of each other and joined to make a single shape, but that single shape has had a round corners effect applied to it. If you want to bake this in, you're going to select this shape and go to Object and then Expand Appearance. Now it becomes an actual shape. Before I finish up here, I'm just going to take these circles and apply that exact same effect to them. I could probably just drag on the corners, but I would like the curves to be the same throughout these shapes. So I'm just going to use the exact same feature for this. I'm just alt dragging a couple of these away to add a bit of extra interest to this design down here too. So these are going to be the two shapes I'm going to work on. I'll take this one and just discard it. So now that we've got the shapes, we're ready to go and create our pattern. And to do this, I'm going to select everything and choose Object Pattern Make. The first thing I'm going to do here is just zoom out so I can see a little bit more space around my design. I'm also going to view and I'm going to select hide artboard. So I'm just working on a solid color background. It just makes things a bit easier because I want to actually see what this pattern is going to look like. Now over here in the pattern options dialog, I'm going to copies and I'm just going to wind that up to 9 by 9. Again, this is having no effect on the pattern at all. It's got nothing to do with the pattern. It's just got everything to do with what you see on the screen and how easy it is to work out whether you've got a pattern that you like or not. So I'm going to take all these design pieces which are inside this blue area. That is the tile edge. So showing and hiding the tile edge will show and hide that blue area. That is really just telling me where my content is. This is the only selectable content. None of this other content is selectable because it's just showing what the pattern looks like. I'm going to hold the Shift key as I rotate this around because I want to rotate it around 45 degrees. I want my pattern to be at an angle. Now what that's done is it's just dumped everything in the pattern over the top of each other. So it's not obviously successful in terms of the pattern, but it's fine for right now. Now I could use a grid pattern or I could break up the grid, and I'm going to break up my grid. I'm going to brick by row and I'm going to use a half offset. So you can see that I haven't moved around these pieces yet until I've sort of settled what I want my basic pattern to look like. Now I can start moving things around. But I will want to make sure that when I move things around that I take the dots with the rest of the shape. So right now it would be a really good idea for me to select this entire element and just group it. So I'll go to Object Group and I'm going to select this entire element down here and do the same thing. I can also press Ctrl or Command G to group it. Now that's just going to mean that when I move it around, all the pieces are going together. Now I can also duplicate one of these shapes by just Option or Alt dragging a duplicate away. And if I rotate it a full 180 degrees, then it's going to be reflected and it's sort of going to fill in that area really nicely. Now I really am happy with this. I'm just going to move this one off the alignment just a little bit. I'm going to turn off the tile edge and I'm going to have a look at my pattern and see if I'm really happy with it. And if I am, and I am, I'll just click Done. So we now have a pattern made up from these objects. I can go ahead and select and delete those objects. I'm going back to showing my artboard. I'm going to create a rectangle that is the size of the artboard, which in my case is 1920 by 1080, but yours can be any size you like, it didn't matter. Add my rectangle and go and place it over the top of the artboard. I'm now going to fill it with my pattern, so I have the fill color selected here. I'll go across the swatches panel and here is my pattern. If I want to see it at a smaller size, Object, Transform, Scale. Turn off Transform Objects because we don't want to resize the object itself. We just want to resize the pattern that's inside it. I'll take it down to 50% and click OK. Now this pattern can easily be recolored by selecting the filled shape, going up to the Recolor Artwork dialog and clicking on it. Over here we've got black mapped onto black. If you click here you can turn that dash into an arrow. That's what you want to be able to recolor it. Let's just double click here and select a color. It does not matter what color you select. You just want to kick it out of black for a minute, because when we then click on edit, it's going to be easier to see the bit that we're going to drag around. So you can drag around to find the color combination that you want, purple and white for example, for your pattern. Click OK. When you do that, you'll see that you actually have two patterns in the swatches panel. You've got the original and now a new pattern. That's one of the features of the Recolor Artwork dialog, is it makes a duplicate of your pattern so that you're not changing the original, you're just adding another version of it. Now I'm going to take this black one, I'm going to drop it onto this new pattern icon, so I've got two of the black. I'm going to double click on this second one because I want to color the original pieces. I'll click on Show Tile Edge. and I'm going to select this set of objects and I'm going to color it one color. I'll select this set and color it a different color, and this set here and color it yet a different color. So I've got 3 shades of sort of pink purple here because I had 3 shapes. If I'd added more shapes, I could add more colors. I'm happy with that. I'm going to click done. So this is my new pattern. It also can be recolored. So we'll select on this rectangle, go back to the Recolor Artwork tool. Here are our 3 colors. I'm going straight to edit. And now we can do things like locking our colors and dragging them all around so that we can find colors that have that same spatial relationship with each other, or you can break up that spatial relationship and go and get other color schemes that you like by just manually dragging these colors around to find something that's different and new. At the moment we're working with fairly muted colors. You can see down here the saturation sort of middle range, the brightness is sort of middle. You can increase the brightness and you can increase the saturation if you want more saturated, more bright colors. And you can do that for the selected color. When you find something you like, just click OK, and as before, you've got another one of these patterns in the swatches panel. So there's a nice, quick, easy way of creating one of these sort of abstract patterns here in Illustrator. Now before we finish up, I do have more Illustrator training at Skillshare.com. When you sign up for Skillshare, you get access to thousands of classes there, including over 250 of mine. In the description below is a Skillshare coupon for you, which is at least as good as the current Skillshare offer, and typically mine will be even better. I also have plenty of Illustrator training over at udemy.com. There's a referral link for every one of those courses in the description below, so feel free to share these with family, friends and co-workers. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned things about Illustrator of which you were previously unaware. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so you'll be alerted when new videos are released. Until next time, my name's Helen Bradley. Thank you so much for joining me here on my YouTube channel.